Start off with Bitcoin. I can actually press record. So top down, what we're looking at just is consolidation right at the top of the range, and we can see over the past week or so, this value area has been creeping up as well. So whilst we had put in this range initially, so the blue lines that you see here, just being how the value area has been changing over time. And if I change this to the POC as well, and this is really interesting. So we had the initial high that was put in. So value had been made. Obviously, you hadn't spent much time there. So there was a lot of volume. So the value that price had there relative to where it had been had moved all the way up towards this, towards these highs. And we got the corrective move, so point of control starting to move down, this value area starting to move down, just being that pressure as soon as we saw that break in market structure. Then we had things like VWAPs, moving averages, that caused this, just this, what some people were considering to be weakness within the market distribution. Okay, we've changed market structure. This is looking weak. We've got all of this stuff that's pointing down towards price, but realistically, just a corrective move. Okay, just being able to, okay, we've gone too high up, and now we're looking at this just correcting back down. And where we bounced from was from our yearly VWAP. So if you anchor a VWAP, if you use the toolbar and you click on your anchored VWAP, then if you go all the way back down to the beginning of the year, place that there, then we had that anchored VWAP offering really, really good support on the low that was put in. And this was also, of course, if you look on the weekly, this is going to start getting a little bit messy. But if you look on the weekly, we had this weekly gap down here. So nice weekly gap, and this coming close to the midpoint of that. So that's generally where you would look to start, like to really kind of bid. If you've got a gap on the chart, looking around that midpoint as being a really, really like optimal entry for anything on there. And yeah, offering like good support, good reversal after that. I think on some perps, because you got the liquidations and everything, it actually went a little bit deeper than this and did hit that midpoint. But yeah, decent bounce. Reclaimed what was at the time value area low, because of course that value area had been moving down. And then just consolidation here around about that point of control. So the point of control shifted down. At this point, we were looking at the possibility like, okay, when you see this shift in the POC, right, when this shifts, you can see how this has happened previously. It shifts and then price started to repel away from it. But at that point, you held that monthly open. So this was back in May. So we had that move down at the beginning of May, immediately recovered, and then holding that monthly open as support. So the point of control moving down was not able to push down to make a new low. There were a lot of people, of course, looking at that 54 to 52K region. It held here, and then of course we see that big pop up, and now we're starting to see value and everything start to rise back up with price. So overall, it's very bullish right now. I am very bullish. So we see where this is now. We'll take off the developing. The point of control has moved back up towards the highs, and at that point when that happened, that's when we've seen this latest move higher. Value area moving towards where price is now. So we're still contained within value. That doesn't mean we can't like drop back down, test some support. If we're looking like worst case scenario at this stage, then we do have value area low down here, that 64K zone, which I think there's going to need to be some kind of FUD or something major. Like we're going to have to break down with quite a lot of aggression to have any chance of a move to come back down to those 64s at this stage. Where this is at the moment is looking pretty healthy. There's not been any like big top that's been put in. We're not seeing longs getting really like caught offside at this stage. Even the correction from yesterday ended up front running what like the minimum thing for myself was. So yeah, it's all looking very good. I am expecting breakout to new all-time highs soon, unless we start to lose that 69K area. I think going down as low as 69K at the moment is fine. If we do start to close 4-hour daily candles down there, then I would slightly readjust my thinking there, because what we have on this whole move up is just nice balance. Like there was a long consolidation, like a couple of weeks of consolidating. We're now back towards the highs. We're testing this resistance. There's only so many times that you can hit into that before it breaks. And yeah, everything looking pretty healthy. If you were to look at this from the inverse, because sometimes people ask me about this, but oh, okay, look, but if you look at it like you're making another like higher low here, if you flip the chart and invert it. But if you were to be seeing a chart like this, where you just consistently made these like moves down. Okay, you swipe highs, you move down, you swipe highs, you move down, you swipe highs, you move down. Once again, here you swipe highs, you move down. This isn't something you'd really want to be longing right now. I can understand the reason for doing it. For some people, but when you're looking at this and when you're looking at volume just tapering off here, I think you'd be expecting this just to break, and to break with like quite violently to the downside. So if you were longing this and you were hoping for a bounce up here, it would be more hopeful at this stage, right? You've got clearly market structure. Like you had the opportunity to bounce, you had the opportunity to make a higher low and then to get continuation. It's failed. It's consolidating right on support, inverted chart, right? It would be hopeful more than anything to be looking for that move to bounce back up. So everything at the moment, flip it back to this way, is pointing higher. What else can we say? If we just have a look, we don't normally do too much on the higher time frames here. So the 4 hour yesterday, I was really interested in. So I was wanting to see a move down. The last stream I did, the last update I did, then I wanted to see a move down into basically this 4 hour gap. All right, so what we had on the chart here was the impulse that we had from earlier on in the week on that Tuesday. I'd kind of drawn a little squiggly that was like, and then higher. I can probably pull this up. Where was my little squiggly? Where was my little squiggly line? Where's Discord? Here we go. So yeah, this was the kind of thing I wanted to see, ideally, and you can see here, getting that range, drop into that 4 hour gap, and then continuation higher. This is what we shared within the crew, and so this is more or less what we've had. So go back onto this. We didn't take the lows yesterday, but I think that move down that happened yesterday was quite nice. A bit of a front run from these lows, but opportunity to get back into a long position if you had been waiting for that. And I'll go on to Ethereum in a minute, and we'll have a look at that, because ETH hit some nice levels as well yesterday. So for today, daily open, we've had a bit of a move down. What's this done so far today? Let's open on our sessions. Yeah, Asia range was fairly like, yeah, it's just come back up to, what do we have? Filled in these gaps here with the single prints yesterday. So yeah, back into the top of where we have a bit of a messy but slightly like 15-30 minute order block up here. Rejecting off of that so far. You can see that was fairly impulsive, the move down, fairly aggressive, that move down. The correction that we had yesterday that almost came and took those lows, bouncing right back up towards these highs. I'm going to see if there's a fib that Fugazi's been talking about a lot recently. Did we get that? So this must be around the 886. Okay, yeah, not quite the 886. We'll look okay for now. I'd imagine we're around VWAP here. So let's go down lower. Are we around the VWAP? We're right on the VWAP, yeah. So trending up so far today. We have put in a low already that did take out a little bit of liquidity, so you have a bit of chopping around that daily open. Mark up into what is resistance. You've got a nice little, this is a bit cleaner, bit of a 5-minute gap here. You did in fact close above that 5-minute gap, but doesn't mean too much there. 5-minute is clean because we've got support here on this one. So we've got VWAP support, that being the only real imbalance that we've got on the chart. There's a bit of a gap here, but that was where there was a previous high. So you come back, test that. That's fine. That's dealt with. That's done. There we go. That's cleaner. Continuation higher. Clean up these highs here. Internal highs. Imbalance on the chart here. Drop back down. Test into VWAP. The only other imbalance that's on the chart. And now what you would imagine we would at the very least see is, I mean, we have tested this one, but you would want to see that filled. See if you can start closing some candles above here and then leading on towards those previous day highs. So let's see if there can be a bit of a bounce here. But yeah, I do have a bullish bias for today on Bitcoin for sure. We're above the VWAP. We're above all important moving averages. We had that drop yesterday that I think was a decent shakeout, and things are looking rather good. So at this stage, if we do start to lose daily open, then it brings back the possibility that previous day lows do become a really nice target because there are equal lows there. So you can extend this across, looking at still, like, it would have been nice to have got this yesterday. But if there is to be a move down, I think that like just below 70k is still an area that you could look to bid into with quite a lot of confidence. Check the weekly view up there. Yeah, so we had that as support yesterday as well. Yeah, not too much more to say on Bitcoin. That's more or less everything. We can have a look at the order flow. So if we go over here, order flow, let's just refresh. I mean, this drop yesterday was pretty intense for for leverage. People just getting way too caught up on like high leverage right now, and it's silly. It is silly to say the least. Like you had, so we'd seen it from these highs that were put in, where we just had, and you can see it here, right? So this, zoom into these highs from yesterday. Okay, you spike once, twice, 3 times into resistance. So this hadn't taken out the highs from earlier in the week. Three moves up into the highs, and on each occasion, all right, just less delta. So you have a pretty forceful move up. All right, you've got consistent just buying. Then that starts to shut off, and you're just taking out the highs again there, but on less volume, on less delta. You're not really getting those liquidations. You're just taking stop losses of people that were too early into the short positions, and then you get the move down. And it wasn't until you just have longs that have maybe opened up at this stage, just holding through this range, and then all just liquidated at once. You can just see how quickly that cascaded down. Some spot selling going on there as well, but how quickly that cascaded down. High volume, running a bunch of liquidations, a load of stop losses being hit. That's the most long liquidations we'd seen, well, at the very least throughout this range that we have at the top here. But yeah, and then since then, what are we seeing now is that there is continued selling. So you have, not only did everyone then get stopped out, they're then trying to short this on the move back up, where we have bullish divergence on these lows with price making higher lows, and yeah, everything looking okay there. We'll refresh this one, look at the open interest. I really wish Agra had open interest. It'd be really, really good. OI is rising. I don't get why the spot CBD is like this on CoinGlass. But yeah, OI rising. You've got order book liquidity is a little bit bearish here. But not okay. It was earlier. We've had a bit of a pullback, and now it's looking fairly neutral. But yeah, a big rise up in open interest today. That's back to levels not seen since yesterday. But on this occasion, more short interest within that, whereas previously there were a lot of longs opening up towards these highs. You'd say just looking at the Delta, it's relatively flat. There's nothing too crazy going on. I don't think we really start to see a squeeze until we break highs. So I do think that this could just continue ranging for a little bit, keep building that open interest, shake some people out both sides, see how it goes. There's nothing too crazy here. It's fairly balanced. But if it does start moving up with like to start taking highs here at this point, that's when you're going to see people trying to fade the move, shorts trying to fade it like 72k. If it can break 72k, maybe you get people trying to short there, and then you can start squeezing, and that's where the fuel is going to be. I think within this range here, it's still fairly fairly chill at the moment. How high can AMC and GME go today? Let's just see what's in the comments. What's in the comments? Cake. NFP later. Major news next week though. CPI, PPI, and FOMC could be make or break time. Yeah, I mean, we're I think it's like PPI, CPI, FOMC suddenly becomes interesting again. Let me just stop this recording. That's the end of the Bitcoin analysis anyway. So I'm going to stop this recording and I can upload that as a little video later. Woo!